Hello and welcome to all of you. Another video here with me, Veerle de Bruyne. And some people ask me, some students and some clients, some subscribers, why don't you ever talk about synastry? Can you make a video about synastry? And actually, I'm doing lots of them lately. And I think that of course, synastry is, I find, one of the most complex things to do with astrology. And what I'm going to talk about here is just, it's not only what I've learned in books, but is my experience, I suppose. So that's certainly not the way, but it's a way that works for me. So I'm going to explore a little bit about it, and especially with people who ask for synastries. Of course, the number one question will be, will our relationship last? Will it you know, for a long term? Is this going to be an important relationship? Now, always my first answer is, I think every relationship is important, whether it is 3 weeks or a year or 20 years or 30 years, whatever. I think every relationship shows its meaning. But in synastry, it is, especially when you are a student of astrology, and especially when you do know something about astrology, what is mostly important in the synastry is to have that, as astrology is related to the ninth house, to have that ninth house attitude, to have that Sagittarian kind of look on the whole. So because synastry is actually a lot of work to do, I think, if you want to do it right, by just first looking at one chart individually. Look at the one chart person A, look at the other chart person B. What is this temperament all about? What does this person need in their life? That's how I start. I look at their temperaments. I look at, is this a fiery person? Is this an earthly person? Is this a person who lacks an element? Is this a person, what does he or she need in their life? Do they need Saturn, or do they need Uranus? Do they need Neptune? So I will have a look at both of their temperaments overall, but especially at the moon and Venus, because that is how we relate. If we want to know how we relate relationships wise, then we look at the moon and the Venus, and there's not a bad or a good thing, you know. There's only a more challenging aspect or not. So it's about, sometimes we can have, so I look especially at the moon and the sun. The moon and the sun, to a lesser extent Venus and Mars, but at the moon and the sun, what are they all about? What are the aspects, the challenging aspects to that moon and to that sun? So that shows the temperament. So you can have, for instance, a person who's very Saturnial-like. So they will have Saturn on their moon or Saturn on their sun, in a conjunction, in a square, in an opposition. Or they could have that Saturn on an axe. So the ascendant, the midheaven, the descendant, and the IC. The same for Uranus. Is this a Uranus kind of person? Yes or no? Is this a Plutonic kind of person? Yes or no? And every time you look at that, and mostly you will find that a person is a bit like maybe one particular planet pops out. But sometimes you will find people who have a sun conjunct Neptune, for instance, and the moon squaring up to Uranus and also opposing Saturn. So you've got a mixture there. So it's quite complex already in itself. Now, the good thing what do I like seeing in the two individual charts is that they have a bit of the same flavor. So if one person is very, let's say, Uranus-like, and the other person is very Saturnial-like, that's already a bit hard. But anyway, it can work, but that's not easy. If one person is very Plutonian, Uranian-like, for instance, and the other person as well, good. They will work through these energies together. But again, it's no guarantee if it will work out or not. And then I have a look at the transits and progressions. So to know at what stage they are now, because in Synastry mostly it's about or a new relationship or a relationship that is going a bit wrong there. So you want to see what is happening now with these two individuals. Are they having the mostly what you will see is they're having both a bit the same transit. So one can have Uranus on the sun, for instance, and the other person has, for instance, Uranus on the moon. So there's a team there and they're playing this energy out. So mostly you will see that. It's very rarely, actually mostly never, that someone is having very Saturnal kind of aspects and the other one is having like Neptune all over the place. I rarely have that. But that's of course synchronicity. It's a magical thing, of course. Why do two people get together? There's destiny, absolutely, but there's also the free will in trying to make it happen and trying to work it out, or not. So that's the second step, is looking at the transits, but not the transits of Saturn, Uranus, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Are they one of these persons having a transit of that on the moon and the sun, or Venus and Mars to a lesser extent? But moon and Venus is of course very important, but so is the sun. So you look if there is, what is the energy at the moment. So someone can be very Saturnal-like in their chart, but all of a sudden has a Uranus transit going on right now on their moon sign, for instance. So that says something about, will this person be able to cope with that? Yes, of course they will have to, whether they like it or not. But you'll see the energies that are going on at the very moment. And 9 out of 10 times you will see that. If, for instance, a man has Pluto opposite the moon in his transits, he will attract someone who makes a synastry aspect between moon and Pluto. So one's moon and the other one's Pluto. You will see that very, very often. So it seems that we do attract when we're having a transit, and for instance we are single, and we have an important transit on moon, sun, Venus, Mars. We kind of attract that in other people in order to incorporate that energy. So it's very, very logic, actually. The same when people email me and they give me a bit of context what is going on there, even without, and that's not because I'm a good astrologer, but even without seeing the astrology, you see in the email, you see this is the energy of Neptune. This person is confused, they're thinking of that, or this is, what do we do? This is Neptune going on. And then now, most cases you see, okay, indeed, a Neptune on the moon, for instance. So we do attract the transits, or not only transit, but also with progressions. Let's say nothing is going on in someone's chart with on the moon or the sun or the Venus or the Mars. That is possible, that no long transit is going on. Then I look at the progressions. Like someone can have, like, for instance, a Pluto opposite progress Venus. That is a big one as well. So I include the progressions as well. And then you see, these are the teams that these people will learn, whether they like it or not. And so for instance, let's take the example of Pluto. A man has Pluto opposite moon. And so in the transit, and let's say that this person is already a strong Pluto person. And with that I mean maybe Pluto on the ascendant, or maybe Pluto conjunct the sun, or whatever. Then you see this person needs to learn something about Pluto, needs to learn something about, hopefully, the positive side of Pluto, which is strength, which is strengthening, which is growing towards a very authentic personality, and so on and so on. And so that person, when he's got, let's say, a man Pluto opposite the moon, he can encounter a very Plutonian person whose Venus, for instance, or let's say whose Pluto is on his moon. So you have a double whammy here. I see that all of the time. So when people start new relationships, if it would be a man who's got a strong Saturn transit, for instance, again, a lot of people say, oh, I have a Saturn on my Venus, I will not meet someone. That's not true. It will be a Saturnial kind of energy, which is serious responsibility, but it doesn't mean that. I've seen plenty of people with hard aspects to Saturn meeting someone, but it was not always easy. It is not the flavor of meeting someone and being dreaming on and so on. No, it's real from the beginning. Whether that's good or bad is not important. It's about what you learn. Anyway, now the Saturn opposite the moon, what you see sometimes is that other person has their moon or Saturn on his or her moon or Saturn. Now it becomes complicated, doesn't it? But anyways, what I'm trying to say is, if you're having a transit, it's very often that you see the same aspect in the synastry. So that is a sign that you're learning that planet. And of course, when it's hard aspects like squares and oppositions or conjunctions is very, very strong, you will go through the evolution of that planet, and from maybe starting with the not always easy aspects of it towards the better aspects. So someone, for instance, who's very strong Plutonian in their natal chart, who is having a Pluto transit, for instance, and who is having a synastry with strong Pluto, and who is saying, let's say that man says, and when you explain, okay, your team here is the team of being powerful, being strong, but not controlling and not trying to control or manipulate the other person. And this person says to you, oh, no, certainly not manipulating, certainly not controlling that person, but she has to stop smoking and she has to do... No, if you see that, then I think it's up to the astrologer to let that person see it, and you will not always succeed. I mean, you can do your best, but so if that person doesn't see, for instance, with the Pluto, that they are manipulative, that they are trying to control the situation, it won't work. It won't work. And because Pluto in astrology, in synastry, learns a lot about manipulation, learns a lot about abuse, can be possible as well, but manipulating and overpowering someone. And vice versa, it can be the other way around, that you feel that you're having no power at all, or he can meet a woman who is totally controlling him. And I see a lot of men who are absolutely who cannot say no to a woman, who cannot say no because they have a fear of losing them. And of course, that's not love. That's not love at all. When you are fearful all of the time of making a wrong step and not being able to be yourself. And that's what people learn with Pluto. They learn to let go. They learn that platonic love is not real love. Platonic love is possessiveness, and is you do what I want otherwise, and you will deal with someone who triggers that. Or if two people are very platonic, and you see that in the synastry, they go... You will never know if they can go... it's up to the individuals if they want to go for... Even if the client is saying, yes, I will do my best. I see it is the control thing and I'm going to let go of it. They can do their best, but still it takes two to tango. So the other person needs to be wanting to improve and grow themselves, because ultimately it's about growth. Ultimately, when two people do get it, then you've got you're growing 2 times stronger and learning the positive side of that planet. You're learning I think with two, if you're both willing and you're doing your best, you can really grow a lot faster than with being alone. But again, that doesn't mean to say being single is a bad thing. On the contrary, we need those times, I think, every now and then, when we are younger, hopefully. The same with Neptune. You can see a Neptune thing going on, and then I just always try to explain to people that they are not really in the real world, that they are a bit dreamy, you know, their eyes are a bit like that. I exaggerate, of course. So when Neptune is a team, there can be deception. They're not the person, the client is not looking consciously or unconsciously to who that person is, and they're only seeing the good, and of course they get disappointed, and why is this person doing that, and I gave them everything, and so on and so on. So Neptune is a lot about I don't see clearly, and hopefully you try to explain that it's not always with not seeing clearly. Sometimes it's just being confused. Should I go with this person or not? Or what should I do here? It can be as simple as that, as really not knowing at all and doubting, which is a very Neptunian kind of thing. And Neptune tries to show you different paths and show you maybe you go towards the positive side of Neptune, which is showing a bit more compassion in relationships, showing a bit more of your sensitivity, understanding other people, empathy, inspiration, creativity. So that is the best side of having a Neptunian relationship. But quite often, of course, people will struggle with Neptune. I think Neptune is as difficult as Pluto. I mean, it's just different. And then you've got Uranus, so people can have strong Uranus relationships. And I know that when you're talking about Uranus, people think it's just very short and quick and off you go. I think it has to do with the individual again. If the individuals are quite with the feet on the ground, they can deal with Uranus. Actually, if people are quiet with the feet on the ground, the more they can deal with all the other outer planets like Uranus and Neptune and Pluto, which are way more difficult. So I've seen it as well. Strong Uranus comes along, and yes, then it is a sign to get out of a rut and to change your relationship in some sort of way, to make it a bit more exciting if you're in a relationship. And if you are single, maybe to start to see relationships in a different way. That's what Uranus is all about. It's not a bad thing. It's just the negative thing is indeed going from here to there. Oh, this person is more exciting, so let's go there. But oh yes, after a month or two, it's not that. Let's start here. That can be Uranus on the negative side. Or you feeling that you have no connection with people can be also Uranus, but at the positive side, it's breaking, it's getting excitement in a relationship, getting freshness in a relationship, doing things in a different way. So I'm not saying that you need to jump out of a helicopter and bungee jumping together or whatever. No, it can mean we always wanted to move to another country, for instance. Let's do it. And then you see Uranus comes along in both of their charts in the Synastry as well. And then you see, oh, they actually do need Uranus in their relationship. And then every now and then they have to do something that breaks through the day-to-day routines. Okay. So, and when Saturn comes along, if people are, it depends on what you want, of course, but most people who want the Synastry, they want a long-term relationship. And of course, in any long-term relationship, you want to see Saturn aspects. And now a lot of people think, oh, he's got his Saturn on his sun, on my sun, or Saturn is squaring up to his moon. And good. If you want a long-term relationship, that's what you want to see. You want to see some strong Saturn aspects. Absolutely. One Saturn with the axis as well, or with the moon, or with the sun. If you see these, even if in oppositions or squares, it means there is a bonding. There is a strong. There is like And I know a lot of people come to me and they say, oh, are we karmically related? Are we, do I know him from another life? Or, yeah, might be. So, I mean, the thing is I can understand that people want to know that. But ultimately, whether it is true or not, we have to deal with it now. And I do see a lot with people who've got strong Saturn connections with other people, whether it is friends or you see that a lot with good friends. You see that a lot with good friends. I mean, friends that you know for a long time, or in parent versus child connections, and also with people who are married for a long time or who are together for a long time. Yes, you look for, you will see Saturn, very strong Saturn aspects. For instance, I also have quite a long relationship, and it is all Saturn all over the place. My Saturn is like a hook on his on my boyfriend's descendant on 22 degrees of Taurus, and then his Saturn is bang on my moon. And so you want to see that for a long-term relationship. But if it's only Saturn, then it's it can be a bit too much. It can be a bit too serious, because Saturn is, I think, if you ask me, what is the most mature love? What is the realest love we can have on this planet? I think it's Saturnial love, because Saturn in Libra is in its exaltation, and Libra is a sign of relationships, and Saturn in it is exalted, because it's not only about structure, but it's about can I stand this person? You know, we all have people that we can stand. Yes, in Belgium they have an expression, they say, I can smell them. I can smell them. Which means I can stand them. I can. You take a lot of the little negativities. Of course, not the abusive negativities. Then off you go. Run, baby, run is my advice. And with abusive, I don't only mean just physically. I mean also emotionally. You know, the manipulative relationships. But everyone has their certain things going on. You know, there's always something going on with someone. No one's perfect. But if you've got these strong Saturn aspects, you kind of, oh yeah, I know, he's not perfect, but you keep up with it. Or how do you say that? You are okay with it. And that's, in my point of view, if that's the Saturnial kind of love. I know it doesn't sound always wow, but again, if you only have Saturn in the Synastry, it's going to be boring, and it's going to be too much responsibility. But hopefully there is a mixture of other things, you know, some Pluto there, strong Pluto transits, also strong Uranus transits, and a bit of everything is good. It's not necessarily a bad thing at all. But yes, I do agree that when people say, oh, his Saturn is on my sun sign and I feel restricted, yes, there is this kind of responsibility, and people, when they first meet, they will feel that. They will feel like they either want to go run, like I did. I really wanted to run. It's like you, on an unconscious level, you feel like the responsibilities, and is that karma? Is that from former lives? It could be, but even then, you need to deal with it now. So it's about, yes, for certain people we feel more responsible than for others, and we want to do our best more than for other people. That is certainly with the Saturnial kind of connections that we have. And it depends on, some people will say no, you know, such a strong Saturn Synastry, they will say, I don't feel up to it. And but other people who want to grow and who are a bit more mature, or who want that, they Saturnial connections are good connections. And I don't want to say that because I was referring to that as, in my point of view, real love, because you are living with that person for the good and the bad and the ugly, you know, which is so different from you could say romantic love or passionate love, which is very strong as well, I think. And actually at its best is that you have both and that you work on that to keep that fire going on there. You also see that in the synastry, by the way. Now you're probably, why? And different aspects, but not with the Saturn, obviously. More with the Pluto or the Uranus. There's a bit of excitement there. There's a bit of passion going on there. And that's, if people want that, I look at Pluto and I look at Uranus. And if people are saying, and you will see that in the individual's charts. So for instance, for me, I have Moon opposite Uranus. I want a bit of, whether I like it or not, and I'm actually not liking it, but I need Uranus in my life. So yes, that's good when there are a bit of Uranus aspects on the personal planets, and so on and so on. So everyone is different and everyone is unique. Therefore, synastry is very complex. But and if you really want to take that seriously, and if you really want to get some advice about the strengths and the challenges of your relationship, synastry is a very, very good astrological tool to do so, because you will see it straight away. You see it straight away also in the composites chart, which is like, it's one chart of both people, you could say. And then you see the teams. Definitely, you will see, oh, that's a Pluto team here. Oh, Neptune team. Okay, that's another thing to deal with, and so on and so on. So I was talking about the passionate love. Is that bad or not? Well, that's good as well, absolutely. But if you ask me about, you want a long-term relationship, again, that is a bit different. You know, it's not per definition. That's not. People think that is love, and also romantic love. I think people have been brainwashed by the Hollywood movies, which I think is very Neptunian-like. So if I see people with strong Neptune on there, a woman, for instance, with Neptune on the moon or Neptune with Venus, they're like, you know, even when they didn't see the movies, they have that in them, that they are so idealistic and so open for disappointment sometimes. So yeah, we are all different. We all have different needs, and we all have different relationships. So I hope this was a bit helpful there. And to explain a little bit about synastry, it is quite complex, and also I think that my explanation was a bit complex as well. Nevertheless, I hope it gives you some insights. And of course, if you want a synastry, you can get in touch. Yeah, I wish you the best relationships. They are so important. They are so important. We are here to be individuals, absolutely. But in a society these days, we may not forget that we are here as well to connect. Otherwise, we can just live on an island, alone, isolated. I think it's relationships is really on a social level under attack, I think. Because, and that's why I stress this eternal kind of relationships. Not that I find that wow, but I think in a society where we are all a bit disconnected, I think we can do well with trying to make things work from our perspective, instead of just, okay, throwing it away. Again, I'm not saying that in abusive relationships at all. But when I'm sometimes hearing people like, yes, but he's smoking and I don't like that. And then I think, come on. We all have our things that are not perfect. So having said that, I wish you a good relationships in your life, and doing the effort there. It's not an easy thing at all. It's one of the most difficult things, actually. But thanks for listening, and I wish you a good day, a good evening, or whatever. And till the next video. Bye-bye.